Hey everyone, welcome back to FishOfHex. My name is Travis. Well, today is the first video in the series, I guess it might be 3 or 4 videos, of rebuilding our imported system and eventually attaching both of these low boys to the 300-gallon reef. Now, in this video, I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown, and we're going to also be removing the fish, draining the tanks, and putting them in quarantine. Also going to be putting the inverts in quarantine as well. So it's going to be more of an intro video and just getting the basics. Now, I do plan on doing some modifications to this system, basically raising the tanks up about 3 inches. That way, when they drain, it will go all the way around and into our drain line without having any issues with not having it up high enough and backfeeding and all that kind of junk. So I do have to make some slight modifications to the stand. Also, we're going to be tossing out this 40-gallon sump and the 40-gallon refugium and replacing both of those spaces with biocubes or some sort of all-in-one system, 2 of them, and that will be our designated 2-stage quarantine for our new corals when we get them in and add them to our quote-unquote grow-out farm situation that we have going on here in the fish room. So yeah, this video is just basically, if you missed my previous video talking about why I really don't want to import coral anymore, and just giving you guys again a quick rundown on what's going on. So when it comes to importing coral, my biggest issue is pests. I've talked about this plenty of times, and I don't feel comfortable selling people coral that have the potential of having pests. Even after dipping and checking them, there's always something that gets missed. And unfortunately, if I want to keep my margins or my profit margins decent, I want to keep my prices down, unfortunately I have to bypass quarantining all of my imported coral. For one, I don't have the facility to do that, and I don't have the ability to just you know, keep coral sitting aside that long. I usually keep them in. I definitely let them heal long enough before I put them on the website. That's for anything that I have to cut. I'm not one that just cuts and puts it on the site, but I will say that I just don't have time to quarantine everything, and I feel bad sending people coral with even the slightest possibility that there might be a flatworm or an aptasia or a red bug or whatever. I don't like even having the slightest possibility of that happening. So I decided to just dump imported coral all along. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to get a bunch of new stuff in, but what that means is the stuff that I do get in is going to be primarily SPS. I will be moving into LPS and soft corals and stuff that I will grow out here. But for the start, we're going to be doing a lot of SPS because I grow it quite quickly and it's easy to turn around and sell. And yeah, everything that comes in is going to have to go through a quarantine process. It's going to have to be make sure that it's perfect, because eventually it's going to be part of the 300 gallons water volume. Whoop, just kicking shit in here. And the other grow out tanks and selling tanks that I have. It's all going to be one water volume. And it's just something that, of course, I'm not going to risk my own system and my livelihood, so I am going to take the time to make sure that the coral is perfect before it enters my water column. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with the video. I'm going to turn off the tanks. We have 3 Scopus tanks on the top tank and 1 in the bottom, and I think there's some other fish in there. I haven't seen them in a while. And then, of course, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of inverts that will need to be removed. Now, my plan is to go ahead and put the Scopus tanks in our 2 left quarantine tanks, and they're just going to sit in there temporarily while I rebuild the system. They're already parasite free. There's no issues because I went through that process when they first came in, but they need a place to stay, and obviously I can't put them in the 300 because if I do, adding 4 or 5 Scopus tang to the 300 that's going to be a disaster. A couple reasons. They're going to kill each other, and I'm never going to get them out of the tank. So they have to stay in the quarantine tanks just for probably a week or 2 until I can get everything rebuilt and replumbed to the system. So yeah, as for the inverts, I am going to put them in a quarantine system because I'm not worried about parasites or anything with the fish, but I am worried about flatworms and aptasia that might be coming in on the inverts. So I want to make sure that I quarantine those before they eventually make it into the main system. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Let's turn this thing off. By the way, I already sold my skimmer. That thing was gone yesterday. This light is going to Mike, our Reef Tank for Veterans winner, which we're doing on December 14th. So this light will go to him in his 125. Check out that video. It'll be up sometime before Christmas, hopefully, edited and good to go. And yeah, so it's pretty much empty, and all we got to do is drain it. So let's go and get started. Hey guys, so what a mess I have made so far. The smell down here is just intense. I do have all the rock that I pulled out. You guys saw me chuck that in the trash. Some of you are probably saying, hey, why don't you keep it, clean it, bleach it, and reuse it? Nope, nope, and nope. Not interested. It had plenty of issues with imported coral and, you know, pests and just stuff that I don't want to deal with, and I don't want to take any chances of that ever getting into my main system. So I'd rather throw it in the garbage and get some new rock eventually if I ever so choose to, you know, set up a separate tank with more rock. But so far, what I have in the main display is pretty much all I'm going to have for rock at the moment. So, yep, just finished draining the water out of the top tank. I am going to come in here with a shop vac and get out all the little stuff. I'll show you guys that here. You know, probably do a little bit more music and an overlay before the end of the video. But, yeah, so the fish are out there in quarantine. Let's check them out real quick. I went ahead and put 2 of the Scopus tang down at the bottom and put 2 at the top. That way they kind of have some friends. Again, they're just going to be in there, no copper. They're just going to chill out for probably a week or so. I am going to try to get this done as quickly as possible. One of those guys that when I start something, I just want to get it done and get it done as quickly as I possibly can, just for the sake of you know, getting it over with and moving on to other things. So what I'm going to do is start part 2 here in a little bit. We're going to be pretty much cutting all this PVC, chucking out both of these tanks because, man, does it smell. The smell down here is something fierce. Just, you know, dirty sand and inverts and all sorts of crap. Speaking of inverts, there's these guys right here. They are, there's a lot more dead inverts shells than I anticipated, but there is quite a bit of alive ones, and yeah, so I'm just going to keep an eye on them and put a little air stone in there so they'll stay alive, and, you know, throw some you know, algae wafers or something to keep them going for a little bit. And I just want to make sure that I'm not getting any kind of red bugs or parasites or pests or any kind of crap in on the inverts. And then I'll check all their shells individually, clean them with a toothbrush, and then they will go into the main display. But they're going to stay in here probably for the next week or so while I observe and keep an eye on them. I'm thinking about going and picking up another tank. I think the Petco $1 per gallon sale is still going on, so I'll probably just grab a 10-gallon tank and officially set up an invert quarantine. Obviously, I can't use it on any of the existing tanks. I know we have 2 here, we have the 1 here, but it had copper in it, so I don't want to kill off the inverts with the copper that might be still in the tank. So I'll probably just get another tank if I remember tomorrow, or not tomorrow, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so Friday or Saturday I'll probably get another tank and take care of that. But yep, so we're gonna move on to part 2, cut everything up, pull all this crap from the wall, and just get rid of all the PVC. Got new bulkheads, got new return lines, got everything, and then we're gonna take a trip to Home Depot because I need a lot of PVC to get that all the way around. So yep, that's about it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, let me know, and stick around for part 2. All right, peace.